Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by the Topoco Lodge. If you're looking for a way to treat somebody to a special holiday experience, take them to the Topoco Lodge. You know, the Topoco Tavern, open for meals. They've got holiday hours, so you want to call and check their website on that. But it's just a great place. You can go dine. You can just drive up there, see the scenery, and also grab some coffee, hot chocolate, I'm sure, right by the fireplace. It's great, right on the side of the rushing Chiowa River. And, of course, you can do overnight stays. You can do week stays. You can do weekend stays. The Topoco Lodge, it is an experience, and everyone needs to see it at Christmas time because it is glorious. Go check it out at topoco.com. Back to the YP board, and we should be tight right now on the defensive scholarship distribution. And I have the best director in the business, Chris Lane, handling it there. So we are good to go. Let's go ahead and take the ticker out for this segment, Chris, just for a second. There we go, just so we can get all the guys in there. I think that, down through Savion Williams. Jimmy, we mentioned this. I'll start with this. We said this on your show Friday. You asked us strongest position for next year. I think it's going to flip from what was the weakest position this year. They played so many guys on the defensive line. They got better as the year went on. Just about every name on that board flashed at one time or another. I think suddenly you've gone from the weakness becoming the strength. I like the look of the defensive line. I'm scared as can be about what happens after next year because there's a lot of seniors there and not many juniors behind them. But right now, I like the defensive line.
Well, the key was you talked about the improvement from last year because early in the year against Georgia State, they weren't very good.
You didn't like them then.
But then they did get better, and there's not an all-SEC player in that group. But you had a lot of players that did improve, that got better, that did a nice job with plugging the holes and playing gap integrity. You also didn't have Emmett Gooden, who I thought was the best returning defensive lineman. Now he should be back. So while you may not have star power there, you've got a lot of solid players on that defensive line.
Okay, anybody else want to chime in on the defensive line? Thoughts there? There's big holes there, Ryan, in that junior year. Their first class was not great.
Yeah, and they've missed on some guys the last 2 or 3 years on the defensive line, and they're trying to remedy that this year. But yeah, that's one of the things you see is after next year they're going to need a lot of help. So even though that doesn't look like an immediate need, I think it's still a big need in this recruiting class because you've got to prepare for next year and you don't want to start a true freshman.
Okay, let's scan on down to our linebackers, inside linebackers, outside linebackers. You can keep on going now. There you go. That's good. Thoughts there on your linebacking core? You lose.
Yeah.
Daniel Batuli, that's a huge hit. To'o's back, but all right, what are you thinking?
I see that as a position group in transition because you've got obviously a big hole there at inside linebacker where you need to replace Daniel Batuli. I still think Quavaris Crouch maybe factors in there next year. I still think that's maybe his more natural position, so you could see some movement there. And then at outside linebacker, you've got to replace Darrell Taylor. So it doesn't look like a huge hole in terms of just numbers, but you need depth and you need talent at both of those positions, and they're trying to hit those hard in recruiting.
Yeah, the 19 class, can those guys make the leap? You know To'o's going to play a big role, but is it Crouch, Harrison, Beasley, how does he factor in? Good athlete, he's moved around this year. So can those guys make a leap? And Bennett, can he make a leap to be maybe your best pass rusher on the team?
Okay, let's slide down one or two more slots here. There we go. That's good. All right, Bob, you go back to that first class. And
there's your gets. I mean, right there
Taylor
with Taylor, Thompson, and Flowers. I think those are your first class standouts right there. My question coming in here is you're not going to sign 5 guys at every position. You can't.
Yeah.
Not enough scholarship. But my question would be, where does Tennessee really need to push its chips? Because I would say both lines. Right now, if you're looking at what they've got committed, you look at the board and you see where the gaps are going forward. You need receivers, you need a running back, you need a little bit of everything. But boy, I'd push a lot of guys into that line.
I just think
on both sides.
And when you don't have strengths on your line, how many times have we been talking about this over the last 10 years here? When you don't have strengths on the line, it's hard to do anything else unless you got a Josh Dobbs and an Alvin Kamara, which that's rare. I think you got to. I agree with Bob. I know Will Overstreet's, and I've talked about that as well. Double up on your linemen right now. Your thoughts, Ryan?
I don't disagree. I mean, they do have 4 offensive line commitments. The thing is, they need maybe more of a true tackle, as Bob said. And on the defensive line, only 1 commitment right now. That's something they've got to address down the stretch. So yeah, I don't disagree at all. And especially when you look ahead to 2021, what they're going to have coming back on the defensive line. So I think it's important.
Josh and Jimmy, where are you pushing your chips into the line, or do you think there's a better way of handling it?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest focus, trying to close out this class on defense. You need more up-front dudes. They have a number of guys. They need more big-time playmakers. Jimmy, you said, how many All-SEC guys do you have? They're probably not any up front. So you like the numbers game, but that ends after 2020.
And then the next few days are going to be critical for Tennessee because there's Barron, there's Thomas, there's
we'll get to
Morris.
those.
I'm sorry.
But
They're Memphis kids are trying to get a couple of
To,
them, by the way.
to me, the big needs here at the end are the front seven on defense. I think it's inside linebacker. I think it's outside linebacker. I think it's defensive line. You've got to have depth and talent, frankly, at a couple of those spots. Inside linebacker was really thin once they lost a couple guys to injury this year.
One of the coaches did say thought J.J. Peterson really was coming on. They need him to come on and be the player they thought he would be.
Well, there were people that were thinking when he, that freshman year.
There he walks in here and plays.
Yeah, and it's now been 1.5 seasons of not so much.
He was the big get in that first class that they put together. Yeah.
All right. Good job. We are back on time, which is amazing. Before we get back into Tennessee-Memphis basketball preview, before we get back into some of the names Jimmy just mentioned with recruiting, we're going to do a football speed round. Lane Kiffin, Juwan Jennings, lots of stuff coming up. Come here next.